but when the West come and shoot the same thing in our place, it just looks different. And I have no idea why that happens. And maybe you will be able to answer.
Even outsiders pen files, right?
Yeah, so I don't know, it just looks very different. The colors are different, and we have not been able to match that.
Yeah, so I don't know, yeah. If we knew the trick, we would be conjuring magic all the time. I don't think that the guys who made Squid Game actually knew that Squid Game is going to become Squid Game, right? So there's a great show, sorry, Danish sir, but there's a great show on Voot. It's called The Offer. I mean, they thought Godfather was going to be a huge flop, right? Everybody thought. And every step of the way, already had to just keep convincing people that everybody, somebody said it's going to be a night off, there's nights where
Shut it down a bunch of times.
Yeah, completely, right? So I think that the important thing is that we have to, like Hansal said, conviction, right? So I think the only person that we are all waiting for is Rajamouli sir to come, make one thing. All of us, oh, we should have thought about this. Nothing. I don't think anybody knows the trick as yet. I think the important thing is to collaborate, keep working, giving authentic stories, stories that are going to somewhere connect. I mean, what was also a huge hit, right? I'm saying, I don't know what connects.
Just to be a little contrarian, I think your company's panels, I've been to so many of them, and this is an off-task question. When are you going to make Indian content that will travel? I think we are putting too much pressure on ourselves. I don't think content is made to travel. Content is made for an audience. All the biggest hits you see, whether global hits or Indian hits, have been made for a domestic market. They've been made for a core audience. You're talking to someone, which everyone says, to be authentic, to be true, to be real, to be local. And that's what you do. Of this content that gets created, some things break out. Even in all these conversations that we have, when will we make our money heist? That's one. There are 100 other crap Spanish shows that have been made. You haven't seen them, right? One Narcos gets made. There are so many other shows get made. If you actually look at the collection of drug lord dramas on Netflix, there are a lot, right? We've heard of one. So I think that is an inordinate amount of pressure. What we have to do and what we are doing, and I think it is happening. Like when RRR gets made, RRR is not made to let the New York Times write well about it. It's been made to set India on fire, and then it proceeds to set the world on fire. And I think if we stay focused on that, as in trying to tell stories in the best possible way we can, and now because of the global streamers, I think the biggest opportunity now is the technology that has changed, right? That previously when you made something, even if you made a great movie, it was so much more effort to distribute it globally. Right? So I mean, when you think in the old days, all the art cinema, that was, struck a chord in the West, a type of cinema. In the past, like Raj Kapoor was famous in Russia, Amitabh Bachchan in Egypt and Middle East, Shah Rukh Khan is a rage in Germany, everyone loves Rajnikant in Japan, or so we are told. Amir is a rage in China. So I mean, these things happen, right? But that being said, I think now with the streamers, we are all on a level playing field. Because now technically if you have a show on a Sony level, the whole world can watch it. Whether they do or not is a different matter. Whether it cuts through, there's too much choice. So it's not so easy to just deliver a global hit, It's few and far apart. But I don't think that should become so much pressurizing for us to wake up every morning and say, am I going to change the world? I think we should wake up every morning and say, am I telling a good story?
Do you agree with that?
First, one particular story, like some of the examples you said, Money Heist or a Squid Game coming out, and they have some amount of element which is universal and reaches to the world, is one thing and can happen anytime. I think some of this, our stories did that. Slumdog Millionaire, though done by Danny Boyle, but few other, lot of Raj Kapoor's movies are there. Like he said, Rajnikant is a big star in Japan. One-off can happen. What I would see as a business is that, like today, there is a world who is consuming American content. Okay, we are involved in American society. Okay, Stranger Things release, we are talking about it. So basically, when there a typical American content would get around 40% of its revenue outside US. In Sony, we produce a lot of movies and shows. The economics is that the world is watching America. Okay, so the point I'm saying is that you will have one-off show. To my mind, Scam on Sony Live, on Sling in US and piracy, the world has seen. But that's not the point. The point is not one show or one RRR or one Rocket Boys hit the ceiling. The point is that would on a regular basis an American or a French or a Japanese would shell out $5 to watch Indian content. Okay, possible. 1/6 of this mankind is Indian. So first thing is that we have got a great advantage that there is an advocate of Indian content in almost every country. Okay, what was the issue? The issue is so far was distribution. Okay, technology is a great solver. The long tail of any OTT, I'm talking about any OTT, is very powerful. I'll just tell you, say for example, Game of Thrones. Okay, the first season came early 2000. There are world right now, today, is watching first season. Okay, 16 years, 15 years, 16 years after the launch of, season 1, people are being introduced to that. I think that is one thing that we should understand. Then when we talk about scam is not, it's not a movie, few weekend and that's over. Okay, it is like what, the long tail of digital. Okay, scam is there, Rocket Boy is there, and it will be consumed for years to come. Okay, my thing is that the technology is enabling that. What we need to do from a business point of view, not that storyteller have to do anything different. The business guys, like me and a lot of my colleagues in this industry, I think we have to be very, very consistent in ensuring that all these good shows are being pushed and marketed across the world. Marketing in content business is often ignored as, but I think it's very important. Okay, the aspiration around American content comes from marketing. So I saw a lovely show, I think on Netflix, movie on Netflix, Malayalam movie, about a guy with two guys with superpower. Okay, by any stretch of imagination, this can travel anywhere, right? So, a lot of content are there who will travel anywhere. But I think two things to this. One of the things that we can do is to ensure that we do that. Ensure that scam stays there. The moment you have this mentality, 2 to 3 weeks, I've recovered the money and that's it. And then it's not going there. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, globally, the first adopter of any culture is in the age group of 14 to 22. Okay, so somebody was talking about Korean. If you look at Korean content, 70% of the content is young adults. Okay, if you look at the early American success in global market, where are the young adults? Okay, Wonder Years. If you look at the series of content that keep coming, so a lot of people who are 40-year-old right now and they're the paying sub, okay, have consumed those American content way back. A great example is Top Gun, we were discussing today. Okay, a lot of us, my kids told me they can't go and watch a Top Gun. I went alone, okay, because this is what I was consumed some 20 years back, right? I think we have to produce, if we have a consistent global, we want 10 years or 15 years from now, American, French, Japanese will pay $5 a month to consume our content. I think we have to look at young adults at this point in time. That I think as an industry we should do.
Naresh, how important is it to stop the platform with non-Hindi language shows, and what direction are you going in towards that?
This is the most happy question I've The first thing is that, the first set of, which I said 30 to 40 million, and then mobile bundling another 100 million. Gradually, people are watching lot of content in various languages. I don't know where it started. Last few years, at least last 2 years during the COVID, I've kind of completed all Malayalam, Tamil show movies in all the OTT platforms. All the I have, because it's discoverable. Earlier it used to be the hits, the blockbuster, which you will, the same thing happened with Amazon books, okay. Earlier, if it's a shop, okay, if it's a shop, you will put a bestseller there.
Bestsellers are
Right. So a Bombay or I was born in Odisha, the biggest movie, Agni Nakshatram, okay, those kind of movies will come there because it's a blockbuster hits. The great thing is that today all content are there, okay, and you can discover them. And a lot of search and recommendation helps you discover those content. So I think from that point of view, it's a great time for content. And people are consuming. Like I was saying, Rocket was 50% of the initial first month subscription actually came from South. Okay, so it's fantastic. You look at a scam. If you look at, it was in Hindi language at that point in time. Hansel would say our app itself didn't have a lot of facility. Right now it's there. At that point in time, we didn't have multiple language, subtitle, etc. But the number of people that watched Scan from various parts of India was amazing. I think that's one good thing that digital has brought to the,
Nikhil and Hansal, and I know that it's a little bit different. Nikhil, your season 2 is a continuation of the story of Homi Baba and Vikram Sarabhai. Season 2 of Scan, which you're the showrunner for, is a new story. It's a completely different story, and I know a big part of season 1 is already shot. I want to ask how much of the data and the feedback that comes from season 1 defines what direction you go into. Not so much direction, but how much of that data is used to maybe tweak around or incorporate or bring about any changes in season?
If you asked my writer-director Abhay, he'll want to reshoot the whole of season 2 because he now has a direct connection with Danish sir. So the minute, but you said this comment that somebody said this to you and said this tweet to you, and you got. So I think we should correct this also. So it's So no, I think the advantage was that because we wrote both the seasons together. We shot both the seasons together. We had about 8 days of work left, and we felt okay, we're done. But after that, there have been some kind of some reactions, some tracks that we felt that we can better up. And the most surprising thing was that the embracing of authenticity. So I think that the one thing that collectively we all, say, Manisha, Madhu, myself, Abhay, Danish sir, the entire team at Sony, we said that listen, let's make it as authentic as possible. People are loving the authenticity. They think that it's great. So let's try and go a little more. So that's the one big feedback that we've taken on board.
Sameer and Sir, what is the connective tissue that you hope will be common between the first and second seasons of Scan?
I think it will be entertaining, authentic, and all the things that season 1 was, and much more. That you're delving into a new life, into a new character. The character will come with his own, and I think what is there are learnings from season 1. We will try to incorporate it, but we've treated season 2 as a fresh start. We cannot be bogged down by season 1. That it was a huge success, we have to repeat that success. The moment you get into that trap, you will end up, only disappointing yourself. So it is better that it's a completely fresh thing. There's a new director, on board who is executing it with his own vision, with his own, skill set, his own ability. He's interpreting the character in his own way. And we have a new actor. We don't have continuity in that sense. Also, we have Pavan Devlea, another sensational fight. So there's a lot of new things to look forward to. It's like a new story, which is part of this amazing franchise.
Sameer, do you look at it differently?
Scam season 1, it sort of ended. But Scam is a franchise, and India is a country with so many scams. So we knew that we were on to something that, we could...
Never a shortage of...
Yeah, so we were quite excited that, and then, once it all did well, and Danish was also So we thought that we will build this out. There have been a lot of learnings from Scan 1, which we obviously can learn, and we know what we did right. We know like how to do this better. But the thought always was that these are going to be new stories under one umbrella brand, and if you wish, this is like an anthology of seasons. Of different stories that come. And there will be, as we go and as we get more ambitious, there will be, you will see crossovers and surprises and things like that. Because there are also similar periods of history.
Correct.
So, there are opportunities that throw themselves up. But we are not putting any pressure on ourselves as to, one is that it's not a continuing story. And two is that I think, Ansel, us, all of us, we've tried not to get traumatized by the triple century on debut. And when you're coming into band. So, we're just sort of out there.
Overwhelmed by the expectations.
But one thing we learned, I think one of the big learnings was we took a risk. And we risk hai to risk hai. So we will not stop taking those risks. We'll make those audacious choices and hope that it works. Do it with conviction.
Ashwini and Rana, how much of your shows have been mapped out, for future seasons?
I don't have an answer to this.
Now's a good time to break it to her. Danish.
I would turn to the right. He wants to do a season 2, but I think we'll first finish this.
We just get season 1 right and then move on.
Yeah.
That's usually how we do.
I think I'll have a nervous breakdown if I start thinking of season 2 right now. IC is watching at me.
One person doesn't really show with us with one season.
I was going to ask you, is that part of the? I mean, when you greenlight, is that key to greenlighting that it lends itself to multiple seasons?
No, when we greenlight, we do it because of the cost thing. Later to realize that it wasn't. The Rocket Boys 1 and 2. Now, Freedom at Midnight is doing 2 seasons. In both the things, when the issues like this come, how much of that you shoot before the season 1. Okay, because the production, optimization happens when you shoot both together. Okay, but say Freedom at Midnight and all those things, which is you're going to spend time on a particular location and all those things, is better to do it from a business point of view. Even Rocket Boys. But a show like a Fauda, for example, is something which you can wait for the first season, get the feedback, and let the story get matured in your head, and then go for it.
The actors definitely want to do a season 2.
But with the Freedom at Midnight and Rocket Boys, it's like we have pre-committed. We in Freedom at Midnight, India has to be independent for us to come out of the season, right? Irrespective. So I think those are pre-commitment, but otherwise it's open.
Since we did bring up Freedom at Midnight, Nikhil, I'm wondering if you'll tell us a little. I mean, I want to share, I hope I'm at liberty to share what I remember you saying. This is, of course, based on the book by Dominic Lapierre. You described it as the Avengers of the freedom movement. Do you have some thoughts in terms of what you're going to do, how you're going to do it?
Great, now you've got me into trouble. Huh? Yeah, no, it's just it's a wonderful book. It's one of my favorite books. It's been on the bestseller list ever since it came out in 1975. What I'm very fortunate about is that it's Tanish's favorite book also. So what most people over here don't know is that other than being an empowerer of Sony Live and all of us sitting on this panel, he's a consummate cook also. So he calls you to his house and he supplies you with great food. And he says, hey, this book you have you read Freedom at Midnight? I say, yeah. And he says, let's do that. So I said, it's not possible. How will he get the rights? He had the rights already. So yeah, it just fell into place. I mean, it's been a year and a half of prep already. And we've got another at least 3-4 months, 5 months before we get on course.
I'm going to be very candid and say something that a lot of consumers on the street are saying, that a lot of the local streamers have very good content, but the tech isn't, the investment in tech is not as strong as it is for the global streamers. Is that something that Sony Live is working towards and also going to make bigger investments towards?
It's true. Netflix started in 2007. they have almost 14, 15 years of experience. Okay, technology to a great extent, experiencing technology is quite iterative in nature. You know, when you write the code and all those things. I think all local platforms that you see today are going to achieve a certain amount of standard over a period in time. That's number one. Two, the investment actually in technology is not really money. Okay. Because there is a set of people who just sit with one laptop or one computer and write codes. Okay, it's the investment is in the people. It's exactly like film. Okay, it's about people. The technology, at least the technology that we are dealing with, is about people. Okay, so the great focus right now. The good thing that happened in COVID that we learned that we can collaborate with people from anywhere in the world. So that's one good thing that came from, you know, earlier you would think that I need a across the table discussion to understand. I think the walls or the geographical distance are coming down, okay? And we have seen, in our case, we have seen some growth. We have been constantly trying to get best talent from across the world. Like for example, a small country like Estonia, you know, some of the great video player engineers are there. You know why they are there? They are there because the first set of video player code was written. You know, so Skype came from there. You know, so the point I'm saying is that there are expertise in different part of the world. We are just 2 years old. We are started collaborating with them. We have got a partnership with TCS 6 months back, and the first when we started, we didn't have the kind of talent that we needed to make a great app. But gradually, as thankfully for this guy, Soniliv is becoming slightly more aspirational place to work, and we are getting some good engineers, and that's reflecting on the app. So I think a couple of years from now, all the local players, I'm not only talking about Soniliv, I'm talking about all local players in India will have a very, very standardized app experience.
I have one more question before we open it out to the room. To all of you, what is the yardstick by which you measure the success of your show or the success of the show? I mean, is it great reviews? Is it becoming part of the cultural conversation? Is it getting a faster green light? Is it subscriber growth in your case? What bigger budgets for season 2? What is the yardstick? What is the biggest reward, if you like?
A couple of things. First set of things that everybody is interested is how many new subscribers came. Okay, that currency is valid for next couple of years, because then the market will stabilize. It will go to more completion rate. How much percentage of people actually completed watching the entire show. But from a business point of view, if I have looked long term, I think its ability to expand the geographically and demographically. Because what OTT has done right now, if you look at OTT, is around 40-50 million people who are watching in India this. And also if you look at the kind of genre that we have done, there's a lot of scope in terms of expanding demography. 14 to 18 are there are not many Indian language shows for young adults at this point in time. Similarly, the second yardstick is will it travel global? And when I'm saying global, the first global is the Indian across the world. I'm not talking about the, and the reason why it has to travel is that unlike in India, you have a city, you market that city. Okay, when you have 500 people in Basel, 600 people in Geneva. So marketing doesn't make sense, you can't spend that money to market to a town. So it has to travel on word of mouth, okay, and on digital. So I think that's become the key parameter for success.
Of course, all the usual ones that you said, you get a second season, you get good critical acclaim, you get popular acclaim, a lot of social chatter, get a better budget, everyone's happy, basically, which is, But I think one more important thing that will happen or should happen, it will happen, I guess, is that, currently all the reaction to anything that's made is on an existing set of data points. right? And like anything, an existing set of data points is only your current reality, right? It is not the reality of a 100 million base, a 200 million base, a 300 million base, right? The way the television industry was built in the US, in India, everywhere, was betting on things and backing them, and keeping at it, not reacting to the first week or the second week or the third week ratings and then taking decisions on that. So I think that kind of balance also, the streaming business is young in India especially. So I think it will settle down because, finally when shows are being made, they're being made with a certain degree of conviction, a certain degree of understanding, an appreciation and understanding of the audience. You're targeting a certain niche, you're saying I'm doing it for X, Y, Z reasons. Then when the data comes in, the data essentially informs you that you were completely wrong, right? Or were you? Or should you continue to have faith? Should you continue to, build on that? Oftentimes audiences need to be educated. It's not about just an audience reaction. So I think, but this is a maturing thing. It will sort of happen.
I see success very simply. You get more work. Everybody who works with you gets a lot of work, and in their success, in their being busy, you see success. I just measure it. It's very basic, simple, middle class yardstick for success.
I think creative satisfaction, and like Hansel said, it's the same thing. When your teams ask you when is your next work and they want to be a part of it. And I do feel that OTT platforms does give so much of work to across technicians. When you don't have the people you want to work with are so busy, right from a cinematographer to an art director, even your ADs. My first AD is busy right now. So, that gives so much of satisfaction is that there is work and creative satisfaction. So, your creativity is seen across time in a click of a button. And I think that is very, very nice. Yeah.
Yardstick would be odd because I've just completed filming season one of one show and we're in prep of the other. Whether I continue doing this or not is dependent on both of these things. But for me, a yardstick really is, at least for the past 5-6 years for us, has been if you're able to tell a story in a local language and there's an entire country that's out there that's picking it up. I think India is so extremely diverse that what happens in one part of Kerala, another part of Bombay seems it as an international piece, right? So I think if that acceptance we're able to create with a bunch of shows, I think that's really a yardstick that we'd take forward.
Yeah, I think it's just a combination of everything, but mainly more people are willing to listen to you suddenly. More people suddenly are like paying attention. So that's a great yardstick.
Language, I think, is very, very, very important. That I would love to make something in Tamil and Malayalam and Marathi and Gujarati. That's so nice to just watch in the given language.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I mean, if there are questions from the room for anyone specifically, I think if we can send a mic around. Gentleman there has a mic.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Akshay Acharya. I am from INS Newswire. My question is for Hansal sir. Sir, memes are a very underrated form of content, as a derivative content to judge the success of a show or a series. How do you look at them? What is it, in your opinion, that meme turn out to be?
Memes.
Yeah.
I discovered them during scam. So a lot of my team members said, when your show and your dialogues become meme worthy, then it's one of the yardsticks for success that you've arrived. I mean, it's the new Amul holding, memes. So yeah, I mean, I began to enjoy them, and I still enjoy them. So there are times when you get tempted, when your writer it's a bad thing. When he's writing anything, this line is meme worthy, and it's not right. It's not. I'm not being authentic. I would correct myself that I'm not writing for memes.
We have just made a show called Meme Boys in Tamil. Okay, very soon. It's about me. Very interesting.
Hi, thank you, sir. Mariam here from Money Control. I just wanted to understand, I mean, we look forward to, and in the last 2 years, when we have seen Sony Live growing so much in terms of subscriber base, how much has sports as a category contributed to that?
The second question first. Sports come in a way that generally the sports people come for a monthly pack. Okay, if there is an India-England series, now we have one day of India-Ireland and some 6 matches with India-England. People will come, take a monthly pack and go. Okay, the churn is high for sports content, but the number on that particular day is very high. So that's number one. Secondly, on this year's thing, we have India-England, we have India-Ireland, we have got a couple of other Indian cricket tour which is going to be finalized. The third thing is soccer. UCL is with us, and UCL has been fantastic, done brilliant for us. Nation Cup this time has become really big. You know, typically nobody knew about the Nation Cup, but if you look at last round of matches that we saw about the top 8 nations, the concurrency level is almost like 50% of Europe. So we are very, very upbeat about. WWE is there, and we have got 3 Grand Slam. Except Wimbledon, we have got US, Australian, and French Open. So a lot of sports, and we continue to acquire sports in future.
Right. Hi, I'm Justin from PTI. Towards your slightly left here. There is a lot of discussion today, a lot of behind-the-scenes stories, how streaming platforms have become extremely sort of sensitive to what makers can or cannot make. I mean, anything political gets asked, from the color of what you're wearing to a slight reference to any historical context. To Nikhil and Hansal, because both of you have done political films, is there a censorship of any kind on OTT where you feel these themes are not being explored today, or these themes hit a roadblock because the platforms are extremely sensitive?
Justin, you've seen Scam and Rocket Boys, right?
Yeah.
So no, yeah, in the sense that, I mean, that my first reaction was, how did they get away with it? Right, and then that actually empowered me, because I went called up Danish and I said, listen, I'm going to also do the same thing. So he said, I didn't stop them, why am I going to stop you? Right, so I think the most important thing, I think that, and this is something, so it's a misnomer that, all the censorship and all that, this thing. I feel that it's very important for, at least in my case, okay, I can't speak for others. We have a book, or we have a source material. We are to, and we are very clear. We got to if it's there in the public domain, we are going to stay safe, and that becomes your suraksha kavach, so to say, right? So yeah, for me it was always the source material. I had Malika Sarabhai's blessing with me. We had PIFR on board with us. So and that way, the only question that keeps coming from the platform is that do you know? Has it been put out over there? Is this really authentic? Is this true? Is this fictional? Let us know what it is. And as long as you tell them, then it's all fine.
I also think it is a lot more intentional. And are we making a political statement intentionally? Is it to sensationalize something? Is it to create some sort of a stir? We're not doing that. But in the telling of a story, if there is political, religious, or any kind of content, we do it responsibly. And that, then we go through that exercise. It's not that we just do it. It's an exercise that we do as responsible, as a corporate body. Applause, Sony, and we as creators. We do that jointly. We make sure that our material is authentic, it is truthful to the characters being depicted, and that it is not irresponsible towards a particular community or a particular individual. We try to be as truthful and honest as possible to our story. And I don't call it censorship, I think it's good due diligence. And it happened in Scam also. If you think we got away with a lot, we had a lot more.
I had a question for Rana and for Danish. Rana, recently for some work I did, Ormax Media was telling me that the South on OTT is driven more by films than by series. I think except for AHA, I haven't heard of a single South Indian OTT, which is like, I don't know if AHA is more dependent on movies than series. But what is, do you see that changing?
Like I said a little bit earlier, right? This long form is very, very new for us in terms of writing. In the Hindi industry is obviously seen a couple of years more in terms of the writers getting more experience, the production houses getting more experience, filmmakers moving from film to making longer format. It's very, very new for us there. It's literally it's 4 or 5 of us that are making our first shows in long form. But definitely there'll be a lot more that's happening in that world. It's a very different world from what happens in cinema. And it's also, the South is 4 or 5 industries, so we have a lot of movies we make.
So it's a matter of putting the series out there. You're saying that there aren't enough series out there for people.
There aren't enough series out there. It's also a habit of learning. I think the education will also happen as we make the first set. There will be more and more that will be coming up.
And just
This is something that happened right now, a few hours ago at the airport. We were flying in from Vadodara, Pratik and me. And there was a whole group of people surrounded Pratik. And we thought, they'll talk about Harshad Mehta. And they said, we are all big fans of Vittal TV. Now that is a Gujarati show on a Gujarati platform. And it tells you that there is an audience for everything. And we have to keep creating that content, and we need those kind of platforms in the absence of more equal regional programming on the mainstream platforms.
And just to address the question on the subject in Indian stories, Danish, we were talking about RRR outside. The fact is RRR, I'm just so pleased to see all the coverage it is getting. But that's also Netflix's cloud has a company sitting there in the US, and when Netflix releases a Sacred Games, it gets reviewed in New York Times. But it takes let's say, Disney or a Foxstar to do a My Name is Khan. I'm talking about earlier films. So you need that global studio to do that. Do you think that reach thing is important? If you're talking about, I'm not saying that there should be pressure on stories to go overseas, but do you need that big studio brand to actually take the content and distribute it and market it the way it should?
Absolutely. That's the point I was making. Platform like us, the intention to take it global, market it, put money behind it is important. Okay. So if you look at, there are Amazon, Netflix, Disney, Boot, Viacom, Sony, all are international players. So it's not that, I think we are 2 years into the business of originals. So one of the clear ideas is that in next couple of years to go there and invest, because this is an investment. If you want to build a new geography for yourself, you have to invest for some years. Okay, and I think that investment of infrastructure, using your powerful infrastructure of the studio, how you can take this. I'm very happy what Netflix has done for RRR. I think the first few, 10, 20 shows which starts going, then people are more open to see it. So whether Netflix does it, whether it's Amazon does it, whether it's Hotstar or Lyft does it, I think it's very good for Indian industry. I'm very happy what they have done. Hopefully in next couple of years we should be able to carry some of our shows. Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, hi, this is Ravi Jain from ABP News. मेरा सवाल हंसल सर, अश्विनी और निखिल सर से है. आप लोगों ने बहुत ही बढ़िया फिल्में बनाई हैं पिछले कुछ सालों में. मैं जानना चाहूँगा कि अगर आप लोगों की कोई भी एक फिल्म, तीनों की, क्या आप लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि जो थिएटर में रिलीज हुई थी फिल्म, आज के उस दौर में अगर OTT होता, तो आप लोग उसे बेहतर ढंग से, उसी फिल्म को बेहतर ढंग से OTT प्लेटफॉर्म पे कह पाते आज की तारीख में? क्योंकि बहुत सारे OTT प्लेटफॉर्म हैं और आप सभी लोग OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स के लिए काम कर रहे हैं. तो ऐसी एक फिल्म आप तीनों की जो आप लोगों को लगता है कि यार इसे मैं बेहतर तरीके से और OTT प्लेटफॉर्म पर वेब सीरीज के तौर पे कह पाता?
सारी फिल्मों के बारे में यही सोचता हूँ कि काश होती।
सर शाहिद, आपकी शाहिद मेरी फेवरेट फिल्म है, आपको लगता
नहीं, मेरी भी है, और वो दानिश सर ने वादा किया है कि सोनी लिव पर जल्द आ जाएगी।
हमने ले लिया, जस्ट डिलीवरी नहीं आया है।
Delivery
कपल ऑफ डेज।
एक तीसरी पार्टी है जिनसे लेना है।
अश्विनी ने?
आई हैव नो कंप्लेंट्स, क्योंकि जो फिल्में मैंने बनाई है, एवरीथिंग वाज गुड फॉर सिनेमा हॉल्स. इट वाज अ ग्रुप व्यूइंग, लाइक बरेली की बर्फी वाज अ ग्रुप व्यूइंग फिल्म. जब लोग साथ में तालियां बजाते हैं और उनकी जब हंसी देखते हैं हम, वो आप इंडिविजुअल व्यूइंग में देखते नहीं हो, पर आप रिपीटेड व्यूइंग में देखते हो. तो बरेली की बर्फी अभी आज अगर नेटफ्लिक्स पे है, आई नो पीपल हु लुक एट दैट फिल्म एंड हैव कम टू मी एंड टोल्ड मी दैट वी लाफ सो मच व्हेनेवर वी वॉच दैट फिल्म. So no complaints on that, but yes, some films which I would like to make and I could have not made it for a theatre, now I'm using all that opportunity to make it for a platform.
यार I made the original anthology ना, सलामेश, 6 स्टोरी थे वहाँ पे. तो यार it suited actually, मतलब अभी भी सारे प्लेटफॉर्म वही डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, make another सलामेश, make it 6 stories वगैरह वगैरह. So it's है. With that, I think सलामेश would have done very well today on OTT. Yeah.
एक सवाल और था मेरा आप लोगों से. पहले फिल्में सिनेमाघरों में रिलीज होती थी और या तो फ्लॉप होकर उतर जाती थी या एक लॉन्ग रन में चलती थी, लेकिन उसे लोग बार बार तब देख पाते थे जब थिएटर में वापस आए या फिर कभी टीवी पर आए वो फिल्म. लेकिन अब OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स आने की वजह से आप सभी की फिल्में लोग सालों तक जब चाहे देख सकते हैं. तो ये जो शेल्फ लाइफ मिली है फिल्मों को, उसके बारे में क्या कहना चाहेंगे? जैसे कि अभी हंसन सर कह रहे थे कि उनकी फिल्म शाहिद अभी तक OTT प्लेटफॉर्म पे नहीं आई है. अब जब ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म आप लोगों की फिल्मों को मिल जाता है तो आप...
फिल्म आई है, मतलब वो आई थी, वो कुछ समय के लिए बाहर चली गई, वो लाइसेंसिंग वगैरह के उसकी वजह से. लेकिन मेरा मानना है कि ये OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स का होना हमारी फिल्मों को एक तरह से इमॉर्टलाइज कर देता है कि आपकी फिल्म्स कहीं ना कहीं आर्काइव, इट्स लाइक अ परमानेंट आर्काइव ऑफ योर वर्क. तो वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. जैसे मतलब मैंने द वायर करके शो था 92 का, जो मैंने डिस्कवर किया लेट 2000 में और देखा. तो वैसे ही हमारी फिल्में, मतलब मुझे कोई अभी मिल के, मैं चाहता हूँ कि दिल पे मत ले यार, जो मेरी 20 साल 22 साल पुरानी फिल्में हैं वो भी आ जाए, ताकि वो कहीं ना कहीं आप एक लेगेसी को छोड़कर जाए आपकी अच्छी फिल्मों का और बुरी फिल्मों का भी.
Just to add to what you said, sorry. But there's been so much conversation about series, about long form. But I really believe that there is a part of cinema that is going to be owned by the streamers and the platforms. Most decisions many filmmakers took pre-pandemic in that 2018, 2019 have mostly ended up failing in the box office because it's the minds of people have changed, the streamers, the viewing, the content has changed. There will be, every industry will have, or every language will have some subgenres that now don't belong to the cinemas and will only belong here. So that's a definite.
I think now when we get a script or we have an idea, we have the ability to choose how do we want to make this story feel and look. So you have an opportunity that this is something which I would make for cinema and this is something I would make for an OTT platform. So that choice as a creator we have, that is also a very difficult choice, is because all the time we are thinking what is good and how this should end up doing, because no one knows the future, no one knows how a film performs whether anywhere. But आप जो question आपने पूछा, I do feel that it's a very good portfolio for as a creator, क्योंकि आप किधर बाहर जाते हो और कोई आपको पूछता है कि आपने क्या क्या फिल्म बनाई है, आपका थोड़ा काम देख सकते हैं, तो थिएटर में जाके तो देख नहीं सकते. So recently I was out of the country and someone in Berlin asked me that we just want to see your work. So I could literally say ये वाली फिल्म ये प्लेटफॉर्म पे है, ये इस पे है, ये इस पे है. तो पोर्टफोलियो बिल्डिंग के लिए काफ़ी अच्छी है ये for us as a creator. But yes, cinema is for archives, and I feel that OTT platforms are the archives for cinema and storytelling for years to come.
Hi, this is Nisha from Media, and my question is for Mr. Danish. First of all, big congratulations on completing 2 years. I wanted to understand how has the 2-year journey been, and also what's your plan of action or your content strategy for the next 1 year?
Thank you so much. The first plan after 2 years is to party tonight. And I request all of you to please we are young streamer. The entire launch happened during the COVID time. A lot of us, when we started creating a business plan, we thought we will have an approximately 18 Hindi original in a year, and we'll have at least 10 to 12 original coming from Tamil and Telugu, around 6 coming from Malayalam and Marathi and Bengal. Original thought. But with COVID and everything else all put together, we never came anywhere close to this. Okay, this year after somehow we managed to get enough shows. We are launching Tamil in July and Telugu in November and hopefully Malayalam in the last quarter. So I think this year is going to be our first full year, so to say, from a content point of view. People did come. So one of the things that I must tell you, on Sony Live, one of the regret that we have, a lot of people came because some of the shows like Scam, Rocket was pulled audience in. But our engagement level might not be as high as some of the other platforms, primarily because of number of shows. We have only 27 shows original right now. My sense is that in next 2 to 3 years, we have to get very high quality, but number of shows will be much more. You know, I'm counting on and so I think it will be a fantastic year. Later in the evening, we'll show you some of the glimpses of some of the things that's lined up for this year. I'm hoping and praying you'll like it.
Hi, this is Koya at the front. Hi, this is Keyul from Sinistan. My question is for Hansal sir. So as we all know, your shows Camp 1992, it was tremendously loved and it was very successful. So now obviously people would have a lot of expectations from your next season, and also the people running the platform would also have certain expectations. So how challenging it is to keep these expectations away while shooting the next season?
The biggest expectation from the platform is deliver it on time. So we are racing towards meeting that expectation. The expectation is very low, I'm telling you. Just deliver it on time.
I'm told that's all the time that we have.
I have a question.
Okay, let's take the last question.
Last question. Except for Ganesh, this is for everyone. What is more creatively satisfying? A film, OTT? What is more satisfying when the content comes? It's for all of you except Ganesh.
So the thing is that films have changed because of OTT. Or films, or the process of films and filmmaking and content that you can now make as even as a 2-hour and 2-hour 15-minute film is changing because of OTT. Like I said, the big success of doing a hit show is more people will listen to you. So now even if I want to go and speak to a star or a really big actor,